One of the best things about traveling through South Africa is that every city has its own unique magic. But one particular place that seems to charm the socks off of international tourists time and time again is Cape Town. The festive holidays are almost in full swing, and if you're in the mood for a book you won't be able to put down, best-selling author Nechama Brodie's just released the Cape Town book, which is a remarkable insight into the rich urban history and culture of the mother city. And she's here today to join us and, of course, chat about this amazing masterpiece. Nechama, so good to have you in our Feel Good Breakfast show. Now, I must say, I had a squiz at this book. It is absolutely amazing. It's like a full-color history of Cape Town. What inspired you to write what could almost be described as an autobiography of Cape Town?
Well, yeah, I think it is. Every city has so many different stories, and often when we grow up in a space, we only know one part of that story. So the idea behind this book was to try and create a history that would weave together. I suppose it's almost like creating a tapestry that stitches together all the different stories of Cape Town. A lot of people know the Cape Town that started in 1652 because for many years that was all we were taught at school. But Cape Town has a human history that goes back 100,000 years, and every month they discover skeletons buried under the city. And some of the skeletons date back thousands of years, some date back hundreds of years, and this book explores all of that. And I think it creates a much richer picture of Cape Town, not just for foreign visitors, but even for people who've grown up in Cape Town and who thought they knew the city. There are secrets that are waiting to be discovered.
And that's what you find when you pick the book up, because it forces you to literally interact with the books. There's pictures, there's images, there's maps, things I never even knew about the city as well. What were some of the things that you discovered that you didn't know before?
Well, when I started researching the book, and I worked on it for about 4 years, this is really a book that I hope approaches history in a different way. So it's not just history on paper. It actually encourages you to go and walk history, so that you can walk through the city and around the city and discover places that have a connection somewhere to the past or to something to do with our heritage. So it started very much with walking around places and spaces and understanding what is the story of Cape Town and how does it link through to the mountain and the sea. And so one of the first discoveries, I think, was that Cape Town had all these amazing freshwater springs that come out from the base of Table Mountain and run out into the ocean. And it was for that reason, because there was a perennial supply of fresh water, that the Dutch East India Company decided to set up a refreshment station here. And it was for the same reason that you had Khoisan herders who'd been grazing their cattle here for tens of centuries before the Dutch ever arrived, of course. But so it was Camisa, it was the place of the sweet waters, long before it became Cape Town. And those waters still exist. So I was actually running on the mountain earlier, and there's kind of water pouring off the mountain, and there's an incredible story behind that. It involves the southeaster whipping around False Bay, and then the moisture-laden air rises up the mountain and condenses through the fynbos, and then it filters down through the sandstone in the mountain and emerges as this beautiful, fresh, clear water that you can drink. So little things like that. And when the Dutch came, they did what Dutch people knew how to do, was they made canals. And so they turned Cape Town into something that resembled home for them, I suppose. So discovering that a lot of the main streets in the city were canals at first, the Buitengracht, the Herengracht, and eventually they were covered over. But those secret waters still run under the city.
Such a powerful thing, such a powerful thing. Now, we know that Cape Town is a melting pot of cultures and identities and landscapes. What do you think is the thing that makes Cape Town such a magnetic destination?
I think everybody pinpoints the mountain because it's so dominant on the landscape. And people who've grown up in Cape Town, I suppose, will relate the story of their own geography in relation to the mountain, particularly people whose families were moved from the city centre to very far outlying areas where they went from, in after group areas, Table Mountain was declared a white area. I mean, if you can imagine how ridiculous it is as a concept. This mountain is white. Only whites can get... So a lot of people define Cape Town by the mountain and then by its best-known beaches. So there's these beautiful, beautiful beaches and the ocean. I think what defines Cape Town are the people who live here. And when you start understanding how many stories there are. Cape Town hasn't got one story. It's got tens and hundreds of stories. So when you start talking to people, those threads that I said that make up this tapestry of histories, when you start looking at the individual stories within that, that's when you really see how beautiful Cape Town is. That's when Cape Town becomes friendly. It's not just beautiful, it's the people for me.
Nechama, thank you so much for joining us today. Absolutely amazing. Of course, we're talking about the Cape Town book this morning by the author Nechama Brodie. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks.
It's been absolutely amazing for a rich insight into Cape Town and what makes her the place she is today. Nechama Brodie's The Cape Town book is out now.